Hello everyone, I am Mohammed Sarwar Haque. On behalf of my team, I would like to thank the session chair for giving me the opportunity to present and share our work. Also, I would like to thank everyone, whoever is listening to us now. As you can see, our paper title is Underlining Concepts and Understanding of Internet of Things IoT Case Study. At first, let me introduce our team members. I am really grateful to them who contributed to complete this paper. Here myself, Mohammed Sarwar Haque. I am working as a faculty member in King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals in Saudi Arabia. Muhammad Rafiul Hassan, he is working in the University of Maine, USA. Muhammad Kamal Hussain, he is also working in King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. Sheikh Muhammad Mizanur Rahman, he is working in Centennial College, Toronto, Canada. And Muhammad Arifuzzaman, he is working in King Faisal University, Saudi Arabia. So here I am going to discuss the objective of our work, the literature review, taxonomy tree, major criteria that define IoT, and conclusion. So this paper discusses the underlying concepts and understanding of IoT, analysis of common features of IoT as characterized by different studies and organizations, analysis of the understanding of IoT that contrast in terms of features like different technology protocols, and finally identification of underlining 4 key characteristics of IoT, mainly events, connectivity, data sentencing protocol, and availability of network. As we know, Internet of Things is a rising technology. From the last decade, it has been in the spotlight, and it has got the attention of academy and industry, society, because everyone thinks this technology will enhance our daily activities. It will create new business model, services, and products. Many alliances, enterprises, organizations, and governments have recognized its significance, and they took the initiative and undertake strategic projects targeting to grow this field. So in this study, we did a thorough analysis of different studies that discuss the concepts of IoT. And we found there are some common aspects between studies in addition to differences. Some of the studies foresee the IoT as a network of things or items that will be available anywhere, anytime. As a different study discussed different perspective of IoT, we believe that a sound and standard understanding of the concept of IoT is important to develop and improve the technologies of IoT in future. So in these studies, we have considered many different literature by different organizations, standardization body, research project. If you look at the picture here, you can see we considered different study by different standardization body, national initiatives, research project, white papers, books, and industrial activity. We categorize in these 6 different types. So after analyzing all the literature of different studies, we have drawn a taxonomy tree that summarizes the key aspect of IoT. So you can see the first part of that taxonomy tree, where we can see the different standardization body and their concept. So here we can see like IEEE, ITU, ITU-T study group, ISO, IEC, IETF. So there are different standardization body and national initiatives tried to discuss IoT with different terms. So just for example, if you take as example of IoT, ITU, that defines IoT as ubiquitous network, like that will be available anytime, anywhere, and anything and anyone. For another example, like W3C, they defines IoT as web of things, like web technologies, physical objects. They will use like the objects will use web technologies here. Also sensors, actuators, barcodes, or NFCs. So another part of the taxonomy tree is here. There are different research projects going on, and their view on IoT is shown in this part of the tree. For example, SARP IoT defines IoT as future internet, also discussed as dynamic global network, where the objects will have self-configuring ability and they will use different type of standard and interoperable communication protocols, and it can be different kind of things like physical things or virtual things, like they will have the identities, the things will have identity, they will have physical attributes, they will have the sensing power, they will exchange information with each other, they will be also able to trigger actions, sometime with human intervention, sometime without human interventions, and they define the IoT as the network of smart things. So another part of the taxonomy tree we can see here, where you can see the different white papers, the reference numbers are given here, the books and industrial activities, how they define IoT. For example, reference number 33, which is the European Research Cluster on Internet of Things. They discussed about their paper Internet of Things. So they defines IoT here as a everyday object, and the objects will connect to the internet, and those objects will be available anywhere and anytime, and they will have integrated sensor and devices. It can be fixed or wireless network. So from this previous discussion, it is apparent that the understanding of IoT given by different studies differ in terms of many aspects. So we did careful analysis on those studies, and we identified that IoT understanding and concepts typically varies in terms of 4 criteria, like events, connectivity, data sensing protocol, and availability. So what we mean by events? So events like different study discussed events in different way. Like some studies say it like things, some studies say it like items, physical objects or virtual objects. So for example, IEEE and ITU define IoT that should connect things or items. Or in contrast to these, UK FISG study, they defines IoT as like the network among people and machines. Thereby the studies differ in terms of events like people, item, devices, objects. The connectivity, which means basically like how they will be connected, like how the things, items, objects and smart devices will connect each other, and how they will connect to the internet, like the current internet. For example, IEEE defines IoT where items should be connected to the internet directly. In contrast, ITU consider IoT as a ubiquitous network. So the network will be available everywhere, not only on the internet. Data sensing protocol. There are different data sensing protocol discussed in different studies. For example, IEEE mentioned that items in IoT should be embedded with sensor. Also like IETF, they mentioned in their study that the objects should have RFID tags, and those will be embedded with actuator and sensors. And the last one is availability of network. So how the IoT device will be connected to the network and how they will be available. What does it mean by the availability? Is that going to be available all the time to the object, to the events, or does it depend on contemporary location of the events? So as for example, we can see ITU defined IoT where events are referred to as anything that are accessible from anywhere and anytime. So they clarified that like anywhere can represent events on the move, like outdoors, indoors. So either way, like from away from PC or in front of the PC. So based on those criteria, we have discussed the table. In the table you can see all different studies and what they have discussed about the criteria. So you can see like different study, what they said about the event criteria or connectivity criteria or data sensing criteria, or what they said about availability of the network. So some of the field we can see blank. They did not discuss anything about that part, so that's why it is that's blank. So this is the first part of the table. As example, if you see the IEEE, what they said about the events, they said the internet will connect the connected items and things, and these will connect to the internet, and these objects will be embedded with sensors, and they will be communicate with each other through the internet. Similarly, we can see other studies also here. Because of the time constraint, so I'm just discussing one of the part. Then the second part of the table is shown here. Also, you can see the other studies, what they thought about the criteria. As example, if I show you IERC, what they said. So they said like physical or virtual things. It can be the objects can be the virtual also, and they will be integrated into the information network. So they will be integrated in the network, and it will be available also through the internet. So it's obviously they will use different standard and interoperable communication protocol, and these objects will have the self-configuring capabilities. So finally, in this paper, we did extensive analysis of different studies that discussed the underlying concept of IoT. We found that the understanding of IoT of different studies have many common aspects as well as differences. According to the different study, it can be predicted that IoT will be considered as a ubiquitous network of things that will be available anytime, anywhere, with anything or anyone. And these things will be node of a network, and it can be physical or virtual. We think having a standard and sound understanding of the concept of IoT is critical to encourage a superior comprehension of IoT. And we think this will assist various associations with running after the improvements of IoT. This will likewise open the entryway for a future research. So thank you everyone for listening to us. Thank you very much for your time and attention. So please do not hesitate to contact for any query or suggestion. This is the email address. You can contact with me for any further information. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for your attention.